can open the conference.
Okay. Well, dear participants of the conference, welcome to our event. We are very happy to see you all here. Thank you for joining us. Well, now I will say some words about the rules of our conference, about our section. You have 5 or 7 minutes for presenting your report. After the report, you will have questions. If we see that there are too many questions, you can start chatting in the chat of the conference and you can answer all of the questions in written form. Also, we have the recording of the conference. If you see that you would like to repeat watching some presentations, you can get back to the recording and watch the video. While presenting, please switch on your camera and share your screen for us to see the presentation. And also, let me send one link to the chat. This is a registration form. Please fill in this form for us to have your full names, and please indicate your full names with all of the words which we should indicate in the certificates for the participation in the conference. Well, that's it, what I wanted to say about the organization. And the first report is by Yui Ninjun. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly.
Ninjun.
Yes, and please share your screen. The title of the presentation is the application and research of interesting English teaching methods in primary school in China. The floor is yours.
Okay, may I start?
Yes, please.
Give me a minute. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, professor and classmates. The title of my article is The Application and Research of Interesting Teaching Methods in Primary School in English. In China, English learning is particularly important. However, due to the lack of language environment, many words need to be memorized, and the grammar points are too tedious to be remembered and can't be used. Therefore, students have little interest in learning English and even become bored. To fundamentally change this situation, it is necessary to cultivate students' interest and enthusiasm in learning English. I merely introduce this article from the following parts. First one, overview of interesting teaching method. Second, ways to introduce interesting teaching methods. Third, summarize after class. And the last one is the conclusion. Okay, let's take a look at the overview of interesting teaching method. Interesting teaching method refers to that teachers pay attention to cultivating students' interest in learning according to students' physical and mental development characteristics, and let students actively participate in classroom learning. Interesting teaching method advocates teaching students according to their aptitude, so that students can actively fall in love with learning. The basic characteristics of interesting teaching methods include interest, practically autonomy, creativity, and individuality. Interest is the maximum possible to let students experience the greatest fun in the teaching process. It is the most prominent and important feature of interesting teaching. Participability is to make the comprehensive quality of every student we cultivate can best serve for the real future social practice. Autonomy means that the educatees use their own practice to actively learn knowledge in the whole teaching process. Creativity is the teaching process to focus on cultivating and giving play to each student's self-creation and give play to teach each student's self-creation ability in order to give full play to the importance of students as the main body of the classroom. Individuality means that each student has his or her own individual characteristics. Okay. Now let's look at ways to introduce interesting teaching. In the classroom, we introduce interesting teaching methods, including story introduction, game introduction, and humor introduction. Story introduction is a common teaching method in the classroom. Use a story to introduce today's words. I suggest that the best stories are familiar to the children so that when the words are connected together, the children will have a deep memory. Game introduction is to play games while teaching words so that children's attention will naturally concentrate so that students in the game into the excellent state of learning. Human introduction is to teach difficult words by telling jokes, riddles, or something. In this way, students can not only focus their attention, but also learn a relatively difficult English word visually with remarkable results. Next, I will introduce to you my summary of each interesting teaching method in the actual teaching activity. Story teaching method is the story experience stage of after class teaching, and it is also the key step of a story summary method in the application of primary school English vocabulary. Teachers will teach the knowledge in the classroom through the form of stories to remember the student's experience of the story. Game teaching method is the key of after-school game design is not to be let the students have the feeling that the class is about to end, because then the students will not take it seriously. The design of the game should be based on the knowledge of the summary, and the teacher can see the students through the summary of the game. In terms of practical application of English teaching, humor has strong vitality, and teachers should make good use of the language phenomena extracted from vocabulary, phrases, pronunciations, and grammar in the summary of teaching. So basically, I'll give you the details of what I know about interesting teaching methods. In my opinion, the single old-fashioned traditional education method, teaching mode and means will not make the English class of primary school students become boring, but also will frustrate the students enthusiasm and creativity in learning English, which is obviously not conducive to the development of primary school students' English learning. Compared with the traditional teaching method, which is rigid and simple and present stage, this kind of activity and flexible interesting teaching method is beneficial and does no harm. At the same time, this interesting teaching principle requires teachers to use computers or effective resources to search classes, game, or other interesting teaching methods according to the actual classroom situation and the connect nerd in class, and prepare the lessons in advance to achieve the final effect of beautifying the classroom. Here, I proposed to apply the interesting teaching method to the actual primary school English classroom so that students and teachers can make progress together. Okay, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ninjong, for your interesting report, your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Could you please? That would be great if you turn on the camera. And now we address to all guests and students and participants. Maybe you have any questions about these interesting teaching methods. Maybe you know some of them, or maybe you have some questions to Ninjong. Dear students, any questions?
Actually, I would like to ask one question.
Okay.
Thank you very much, firstly, for your presentation. It was really very interesting. And according to the title of your presentation, you were talking about teaching methods in primary school. Don't you think that some of these methods might be used not only in primary school, but in high school or maybe at university? And which of them? Thank you.
Actually, I focus on the primary school. The the interesting teaching method. I think we should use the primary school, but high school and university, maybe we should change another method because this interesting teaching method very childish for high school students and university students, I think. So we should change another word, another methods, maybe and at least official method, maybe, I think.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I have a question.
Oksana Ivanovna, we can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. Maybe you want to give any comments?
Yes,
My son?
There is
Yes?
another question by Hamdan. Yes, please.
My son.
Why the Russian students do speak English well when they are young or in school?
I think the question isn't for Ninjong, but the question for the audience, because you ask, as I hear you, you ask about Russian children who study English. Am I right, my son? Am I right?
For Chinese.
Chinese. Ninjong. So this is the question for you.
Okay.
Do Chinese children start learning English in early age?
In China.
Yes, in China.
Okay, in China in general, students whose age is maybe 10 years old started learning English. But if you have, if this family is very, very rich, he will send his or her children to the international kindergarten to learn English very early.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, those method it's just for primary school, not for young young students in the school.
My son, we don't hear you well, actually.
Yeah, sorry,
Ninja.
I didn't catch you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know why what happened. Voice.
So perhaps the problem is the microphone. The sound is not very good. Okay. Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your talk. Maybe we should move to our next reporter participant.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ninjong.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, and now we are moving to another speaker. The next speaker, according to the program and according to the present speakers here, is Pokunigoda Kasuni with the report Code Switching to English in Sinhala television advertising in Sri Lanka.
Kasuni,
Okay.
are you with us?
Let me share the screen with you.
Yes, of course.
I hope it's visible right now.
Well, we cannot see your screen yet. And also, if you would like, you can switch on your camera. Now we can see the screen. Now we can see the screen. You may start.
Good morning, my dear professor and my dear colleagues. Today I'm going to present code switching to English in Sinhala TV advertisement in Sri Lanka. So this is the contents of my presentation. So let me introduce my topic. In Sri Lanka, Sinhala and Tamil are native languages. Television is a critical, important communication media, very likely more important than conventional newspapers in this country. Therefore, TV commercials are very important in advertising products in Sri Lanka. Code switching refers to insertion of foreign words, expressions in syntactic structure. In Sri Lanka, actually, it was a British colony for around 150 years, ending in 1948, and knowledge of even some English gives a person some social cachet. Given that English was for a long time and is even at present the language of Sri Lankan social and economic alike. Sri Lanka comprising three ethnic groups, Sinhalese, Tamils and Muslims. English is also critically important link language. As such, code switching takes place in all the contexts: school, workplace, market, home, hospital. Code switching commercials is therefore a common occurrence. So my research problem is we are trying to show how code switching is increasingly taking place in TV advertisements in Sri Lanka. When it's come for the correction of data and methodology, I have used content analysis as a method of data analysis. The data was relating advertisement which were in Sri Lanka in various collections of the years 1980s, 1990 and 2000 are presented on YouTube for the year 2022. Actually, it was based on my personal observation. Now let's move to the data analysis. Advertisements from 1980s, 1990s, and 2000 in YouTube has been selected on the basis of high frequency of telecast. The same method used by me to analyze advertisement telecast in 2022, but it was just based on my personal opinion because I'm a big fan of TV. Every day I watch TV as a couch potato. I just selected some of the ads. So let's move to 1980s advertisements. There were 10 most famous advertisements in 1980s. 2 advertisements on Coca-Cola and Ambika jewelry were only in English, while 7 were only in Sinhala. So in that case, there's only one ad which code switch, which is Rexona soap. They just use only 2 words, that is birthday girl. In 1990, of the 6 commercial selected, the Mitsui Cement advertisements promotes thematic caption as bonded for life by using code switching. The other 5 advertisements are only in Sinhala. Of 12 advertisements collected for 2000, 5 advertisements are code switched with maximum 5 words. 2 advertisements were telecast only in English, while the rest were in Sinhala. So, first brand is Ride, which is a beverage. They use caption like "Take it easy." Then Cream Cracker, Munchie Super Cream Cracker. They use brand name as a slogan there. There are 3 words. Then Rexona Herbal Soap. There's only 1 word, which is sorry. When it's come for dialogue TV ad, they use 5 words. Those are politics, change, yes we can. Finally, Rainco Umbrella. The slogan is says like Aparadane original kude. The original word is used as code switch word. When it's come for 2022, these are the brands. There are 6 products. So actually there are 6 advertisements. All 6 advertisements are as follows. So Pond's Bright Beauty advertisement just code switch 13 words, while Sunlight Rose code switch into 11 words and phrases. All 6 advertisements were selected in Sinhala. All advertisements are code switch. Sometimes words or phrases used. So now we'll just check how code switching in taglines or central slogans of advertisements occur. So the first one you all know, Pepsi. So it's a worldwide thing. In code switch phrase we use Pepsi ek swagging. Then Kottumi noodles use Prima Kottumi fun thamai. Then Sprite again worldwide beverage, you know. Road is clear if it is Sprite. It is called switch like Sprite now clear. 7 up think fresh. Sunsilk හිර කරන්න බැරි smooth ගමනකට, which means Sunsilk is smooth way to go without obstacles. Anchor කුඩුබඩු රස පදමට original කුඩු. Anchor original spices for original taste. Pizza Hut again Christmas pizza. Christmas pizza from Pizza Hut. නියම qualityයට හදන tiara අලුත් වෙලා. High quality tiara has update. නියම spicy ගතියයි chicken රසයයි. Chicken flavor and super spicy. Summer Porsche breakfast එකෙන් පටන් ගමු. Let's get started with some Porsche breakfast. Those are the slogans which was code switch. As can be seen from the chart, there is an increasing trend to code switch the taglines and central slogans and advertisements. Switching gives point and impetus to entire advertising phrases or slogans. So this is pretty much interesting. Prima Kottami annually releases a cricket song. The following song just sung by Bharati Santosh. This is just an example due to the limitation of space. All the other such songs are excluded. But at first glance, you might just see how many words code switch. Actually, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to show you this song. ඇඟට වදින හිත නලියන ක්‍රිකට් ෆීවර් හැදිලා තියෙන hot and spicy fun එක දැනිලා හිඳින්න රොක් වෙලා FM කරකලා SMS and games මල්ලි ස්ටාර් වෙන්නේ සීමා ගිහින් පොරවලා. So like two song, the amount of code switching in this song is obvious. The song is in total of 97 in the song. It is not surprise because in day life people code switch naturally, sometimes using more than 50% of English words. So this study is interesting really, and more we analyze, the more we get deep and complex, because every time when we analyze the advertisements, new aspects are open. However, limited time for completion of this paper restricted for the investigation. There are hundreds of advertisements which are telecast through the years, but only 10 to 12 advertisements are analyzed for each period in this paper. So these are findings. The number of first few but in the early years and all to and we have the class and is not the point of the single advertisement with at least 1 or 2 words added. While some ads consist more than 15 words or several phrases of code switching. Comparative to advertisements of 1980s, 1990s, and 2000, current commercials contain more phrases in English. Sometimes gist of the advertisements are given in English. Purpose of code switching to English in single advertisements is to deliver content or message to bilingual consumers while promoting qualities of products to meet middle class ideology where English plays a role of class marker. I expect to develop and integrate these areas in upcoming papers. So in future, the research can be focused on consulting in promoting products of local companies and against multinational companies. And I'm really keen to know whether multinational companies use code switching more than local companies. Also, it is further to find out whether code switching is a challenge for people who do not have much exposure to English, such as audience from rural areas. So we conclude like this is much research phenomenon linguistic. The reason significant is because it is very powerful communicative tool and because all around us in everyday lives. The paper has explored how code switching is used in advertisement in media and reach multilingual, multicultural, more diverse audience. There are still many facets of code switching and must be explored. So I'm going to show you the song. Then you can just get the personal experience how code switching occur in Sri Lankan advertisement. This is just an example. Let me show you.
Dear Kasuni, we don't see the video, unfortunately. Something goes wrong. Maybe this is the internet problem, Wi-Fi, or something like this. I would like to give a comment. Kasuni is far away from here. She is in Sri Lanka, and that's the point. That's the reason why the sound wasn't really good. It was interrupted very often, and maybe that's the reason why we cannot watch the video. But if you share the link, that would be nice. We will watch it. um, okay, I think we see something. No, Kasuni, are you with us?
Yes, Professor. Yes, Professor. Let me show you the video. Give me a minute. My internet is real bad, as you just told me.
And while you are trying to join, to follow the link, maybe your colleagues have any questions. Dear students, dear participants, maybe you have any questions. The topic is really interesting, code switching in advertisements. And that might be very interesting because we've seen from the presentation that even some phrases are used just inside the blocks of texts of the advertisement. Okay, we see the picture, and I think that would be the last what he are giving to show us because of timing, right? And we have to continue our work. Let's enjoy the advertisement, Sri Lankan advertisement. Hot and spicy cricket song. Okay. Full of colors, beautiful, typical for Indian and Sri Lankan culture, right? So it's really interesting while we are waiting for the video, we can exchange maybe opinions, views, dear students.
It
Any
looks like the
questions?
combination of Rudy and colors, because we also have these lines with colors.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. Okay. Any
But
questions?
unfortunately, we cannot hear any song because maybe Kasuni didn't share the screen with song. If you are sharing the screen and you would like to share some video with voice, you should switch on. You should tick that you have a song in the video or in your presentation. But we cannot hear the song, maybe because you did not tick. And also the internet connection is not really good.
Kasuni, can we ask you just to share the link? That would be great because we will follow the link and watch it when we have some time. Okay, don't you mind?
Yeah, definitely, Professor. I'll just share.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Thanks a lot for the interesting topic. And besides, the sound was interrupted, but we got the idea, and we will enjoy reading your article as soon as we have our materials published, right? So we will be able to read the article. And now it's time for the questions. Any questions, dear students? Kasuni, you can stop sharing the screen. Thank you. Dear students, any questions? Dear participants, any questions? All right. If we don't have any questions, let's continue because we have lots of reporters today. And Yulia Matveevna, who is next?
Yes, of course. Well, the next speaker, according to the presented participants, is Van Hun Liu, with the topic use of emotions in internet-mediated communication in Chinese language. And while Van Hun Liu is preparing for sharing the screen, I would like to say that if you or other participants have voice in your presentation, or you would like to share video, please, while sharing the presentation, click on add voice. Otherwise, we won't be able to hear your voice in the presentation. We will hear you, but not the voice in the video.
Yes, could I share my screen?
Yes, sure.
Just a second. Yes, and I'm trying to switch on my camera. Professor, can you see me? See my face?
Yes, we can see you and your
Yes?
presentation. That's great.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay,
Okay.
so please start.
Okay. Yes. And good morning, everyone, dear professor, dear students, and my name is Wang Hongliu, and I'm from China. I'm studied in the philological faculty in Rudin, and today my topic is usage of emoticons in internet-mediated communication Chinese language. Yes, and it's well known that our ability to express and accurately access emotional states is essential to human life. It means that actually communication exists and exists every time and everywhere. Yes, and I think that communication is just a kind of a process. In this process, we express our emotions. Also, we can feel, detect, and access others' emotional states. Yes, and in my opinion, when we communicate, yes, we just to exchange our informations and also present our emotions. And communications is can be divided into 5 types. For example, verbal. Yes, we communicate with help of language, and non-verbal. For example, some facial expressions, some body language, also some writing, video, and listening communication. And today I'm going to share with you the internet-mediated communication. It means that with the help of internet, we communicate. Yes, the internet is regarded as a medium. Yes, and this kind of communication, I think that we in our daily life we use very common. For example, some email, yes, and the social networking sites such as blogs and the messaging apps. I think that is in modern society, yes, it's very popular. The messaging apps, for example, the Telegram, yes, and the WhatsApp, and the WeChat is one of the most popular messaging apps in China. And also, I choose this Messenger app as the platform for my studies today, and and in this search of internet-mediated communication, we use verbal cues such as text and also non-verbal cues, yes, some visual and audio forms to conduct communication, yes. And the emoticons, I think that it's just like a picture, yes, iconic sign. So I think that is an audio form of nonverbal content. And in my understanding, yes, that emoticons is the first is a accelerator of linguistic units. Yes, I think that with the development of technology, we not only to use text to communicate, we also use some pictures and emoticons. Yes, the text plus the emoticons, I think that it make our communication more vivid. Yes, and also I think that emoticons is a special type of iconic sign. And is a popular nonverbal means in the emotional presentation. And so why I choose the WeChat as the platform for my study, because it's one of the favorite chat software used by the Chinese people. As of the first quarter of 2022, the number of monthly active users of WeChat was 129 million. And it has developed a relatively mature emoji system after several generations of innovations. Yes, for example, this is I think that fundamental, the basic emoji systems in this software. Yes, people often use them. So this paper aims to investigate the use of emoticons in emotional presentation WeChat and to seek answers to the following questions. Emoticons as a vivid emotional carrier. What kind of mood states emoticons are adapted to present, for example, positive emotions or negative emotions? And is there any benefit? And how are they interpreted by the people? And also maybe there are some misunderstandings, and what are the causes of these misunderstandings? Yes. And so the material of this study was obtained from 48 Chinese respondents aged 18 to 40, because this age group is likely to use emoticons in their communication. Yes, and so the material was obtained through a questionnaire survey. Yes, which was composed of 4 questions above. These questions are both subjective. Yes, some options you need to choose, and also some objective questions. And the descriptive statistics were used to analyze the data. For example, some questions is required to choose the best options. Yes, for example, people's preferred emotional attributes, they're likely to present positive or negative emotions. Yes, and also qualitative analysis was also adopted to study or explain the respondents' answers. For example, what attentions and what the interpretations by them, and also what are the causes of misunderstandings in their interpretation of emoticons. And from this questionnaire, we can also, from the analysis of the data, we can get some results. Yes, first, with respect of their emotional attributes, all emotions are divided into positive and negative, and depending on what actions they are accused by, and what are they, and what they are aimed at. Yes, from the blank we can see that more than 3/4 of the respondents choose the positive emotions. Yes, the positive emotions prevail over negative ones, and this result can be explained by the Pollyanna hypothesis. According to the Pollyanna hypothesis, there is a universal human tendency to use positive words more frequently and diversely than the negative ones in communicating. And this is also can be explained by the dimension of a possibility in people's emotional self-representations. And next, as for the positivity, the most frequent mode states people are likely to convey love, joy, excitement, surprise, appreciations, admirations. And also, on the other hand, negative emotions such as anger, sadness are often presented. And as for the intentions, yes, the benefit of using the emoticons, people, I think that the reasons can be summarized as several keywords. Yes, the convenience, to be relaxed and humorous, vividness, and also implicity and indirectness. I think that when people communicate well, they use the emoticons because the emoticons can make our communication more convenient. Sometimes I think that the typing text is difficult when you are located in a inconvenient situations. For example, when you are in the outside and it's very cold, I think that typing text is very difficult. Yes, sometimes just a little emoticon also can express our informations. Yes, our emoticons, and also we can use the usage of emoticons can make our communication more relaxed and humorous and vivid. Yes, and the next, as we all know that the language, the words sometimes are too strange, too direct, and in order to save each other's face, we use the emoticons to make our words, make the atmosphere not too embarrassed. Yes, to make our words, to make the communication more soft. Yes, more indirect. And finally, people's understanding of emoticons depends on the encoding and the decoding. I think that this is just kind of process, yes, to encode or decode the informations, the emoticons, and due to the difference in our cognitive skills and the method of decoding, sometimes misunderstandings appear. But what the causes of these misunderstandings? Yes, as you can see from the blank, more than 19% of respondents think that the difference in ages, yes, so-called generation gap, is the main reasons. I can show you an instance. Yes, as you can see that these emoticons, smile, is usually used by the younger generation to express the mood of Yes, it indicates a kind of unpleasant emotion such as ridicule or irony. But the older generations just think that I only want to show my pride. It just means a polite smile. Yes, you see that the misunderstanding appeared. And the more than 16% people choose that the emergency of internet hotspots lead to the visualization of emoticons. Yes, which can add some extended, add some new meaning. Yes, And people who distance himself from the network environment is unable to decode the emoticons correctly. Yes, such people cannot catch the hot pause. Yes, cannot catch the new meaning because they distance them from the network environment. Yes, and the example is that, as you can see, this cute emoticons. According to the image itself, it refers to the action of just eating watermelon. But the internet has given it a new meaning, indicating that people heard something interesting and are very curious about others' private issues. From this, a new hot term has been produced called watermelon eating massives. It just refers to the people that who are very interested at others' private issues, for example, other emotional states or other family issues. Yes, it just refers to this kind of people. Yes, to have this interesting hobby. And also 26% of people think that the details in emoticon design are not so clear, so that it leads to some ambiguity in the interpreting of emoticons. And we can get some conclusion from these results. People prefer to show their positive emotions rather than negatives. And the popularity of the use of emoticons is attributed to their convenience and relaxed humor, vividness, implicity, and indirectness. And also due to the difference in age and the changeable network environment, the interpretation of emoticons often differs, which can lead to the ambiguity and communicative misunderstandings. And although there are some limitations in the present state, in the present study, and I want to pay your attention that in my study I didn't take the gender difference into consideration. So the result may be not so comprehensive, but I think it can also provide some more empirical support to the previous studies. For example, the polyandry hypothesis. Yes, we just can provide an empirical environment to support this hypothesis. Yes. Also, from this study, we also can get some good ideas for the future researchers. Yes, gender differences in emoticon usage, and also how punctuations and interjections or any other linguistic units functions in presenting people's emotions. Yes. And this is my report. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I will try my best to give you explanations. Yes. I finished.
Thank you, Hunlu. Thank you very much. And now I would like your colleague to communicate. Dear students who are with us, please raise your hand if you know, if you have seen such emoticon with the face with the watermelon. Who has seen this emoticon before? Could you please raise your hand? Okay, we see how many? Okay, only one, two. Iya and Margarita, only two. Only two students have seen this emoticon before. Perhaps and you at home, three. Okay. And I believe that this is related to the specifics of the networks and maybe messengers.
Yes.
right? So it's typical for a WeChat messenger and not typical for WhatsApp or a Telegram or something like this. For example, as for me, I have never seen this emoticon before. It's new for me. And of course, I would never guess what it means, the extra meaning, right?
So
Something
Professor
about
just think that
gossips.
it's just like
So,
an action of eating watermelon.
yes. And what I think, so maybe this is not the matter of the gender difference, but
Yes.
maybe it is related with just the messengers and cultural specific. That might be also very interesting, and you can focus on this question too in your future research. Okay, dear students, any questions to Hunlu?
No, actually.
No questions. Well, for the next reporters, next students, please be short because we have many reports, and please try to give your presentation within 7 minutes. You have about 7 minutes. Okay. So, Yulia Matvievna, who is next? Who is the next
Yes,
speaker?
the next speaker is Xia Yuehun with a presentation retrospective and prospective, critical speech acts in Chinese classroom discourse. Xia Yuehun, the floor is yours. You can start sharing presentation, sharing your screen. And also, as Oksana Ivanovna said, I ask you to respect the time limit and think about the following presenters, the following speakers.
Yes, Professor, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dear Professor and my dear classmates, today I'm very glad to speak here and share my small research with you. My topic is about critical speech acts in Chinese classroom discourse, and my report will consist of these four parts. First of all, I will give you a general introduction of my topic. It is well known that criticism shapes an essential part of the interaction between teachers and students. Teachers criticize students aiming at exerting influence on students' thoughts or behaviors so as to achieve educational goals. However, whether the teacher's critical speech acts can achieve the desired effect depends on a variety of factors. If the critical speech act is used inappropriate, it may result in uncomfortable feeling of students and the impression of teachers' impoliteness. For example, if a teacher criticizes his student very directly, for example, how can you be so lazy? Although the student realizes his mistake, but it will just make the student feel very, very uncomfortable. So it is worthy to pay attention to such a topic. And my research is mainly based on two main theories. The first one is speech act theory by John Astin and John Searle. Speech act theory is originated by John Astin, and then his student John Searle developed it. Astin differentiated speech act in three levels. They are locutionary act, illocutionary act, and perlocutionary act. The locutionary act means an act which says something meaningful in its normal sense. The illocutionary act means the act has a certain force, like urging, advising, or ordering. And the perlocutionary act means the achieved effect of illocutionary act on the listener. According to John Searle, illocutionary acts have an effect on the hearer. The speaker intends to produce a certain type of effect by means of getting the hearer to recognize his intention to produce this effect. So there means an act. A speech act can not only convey information but also perform action. So the intention of teachers criticize is to point out the problem of a student, and they, behind this act, they have the illocutionary force, which to make a student change their behavior and realize their mistake. And the second one is Theory of Politeness by Brown and Levison. Brown and Levison identified the notion of face as the foundation of all politeness phenomena. According to them, face means the public self-image that every member wants to claim for himself, and they divide face as positive face, the want for being desirable to others, and negative face, the want for acting freely and without being interfered by others. And they argue that some speech acts will intrinsically threaten interlocutors' face, and these kind of speech acts are called face-threatening acts. The critical speech acts have the inherent feature of face threaten. First of all, if a teacher criticizes his student, he first threats the student's positive face, and if the criticize is improper, it will threaten a student's negative face. And the main goal of this paper is to analyze some results on the research of critical speech acts in Chinese classroom, and also raise a few new research questions which may help to fill the research gap. And then I will give you an introduction of our results. As we all know that the critical speech acts have the feature of face threaten. Politeness, as Brown and Levison define as the action of redressive, is the most influential strategy taken to counteract the negative effects of face-threatening acts. So in the existing research of Chinese scholars, we found the mutual ground, that is, many scholars focus on the use of politeness strategy when teachers criticize students, especially the frequency of on-record strategy and off-record strategy. And they got the conclusion that it is always the off-record strategy may result in a positive effect on students. And in spite of the overlaps in these studies, different scholars have their own emphasis. For example, one scholar pay attention to the gender factor, and he want to find whether different gender of teachers may use different politeness strategies, and he related this gender factor with special Chinese culture like Chinese hierarchy and equality. And also there are some other scholars who pay attention to students' response patterns, and as well as students' attitudes towards teachers' critical speech acts. But we may find that there are some constraints placed by the scope and the orientation of existing research. So in this paper, we also suggest an interdisciplinary approach and combine discourse analysis with psycholinguistics and social culture analysis, which helps to review and explain some culture-specific features of these speech acts. For example, we can focus on different topics of critical speech acts, like academic records, class behavior, and homework assignment. And also we may concentrate on the factors of formal and informal context. Also we can, as we know that different speech acts are very highly culture specific. In intercultural context, people's understanding of politeness can be differently. So we may make a comparative analysis of using critical speech acts in both Chinese and foreign classroom. and find whether there exists some similarity and difference of teachers using critical speech acts. I heard one of my senior. He told me that if a student has a fever and he still want to go to school in Chinese, the teacher will praise him and say that you are a very good student. But maybe in Russian culture, the teacher will criticize him for the reason that a student should take care of his body, and he didn't he cannot go to a classroom if he is ill. So we can see there are some culture specific values in the features in this in the using of critical speech acts. So I think if we focus on these aspects, it will help to enrich the theory of critical speech acts, and also as well as the development of intercultural communication. In a word, I think this kind of research will help us to have a better understanding of both the achievement and the deficiency in the study of critical speech acts. And that's all my content of report. Thank you for your listening. And if you have any questions, you may ask. I will be glad to answer.
Okay, thank you, Yehun. Dear students, dear participants, any questions? A bit of pragmatics. Maybe you have any questions to Yehun? The topic is rather interesting, and it's about our communication too here in class, right? So maybe you have any comments or questions. Okay, if not, let's continue. Yulia Matvievna, let's continue. Who is the next speaker?
Yes, of course. The next speaker, according to our program, is Anastasia Sheremet from Moscow Linguistic University with a report titled The Activity of Word Formation Patterns in Modern Chinese based on the lexicosemantic field ecology. Anastasia, the floor is yours. You may share your screen and start your presentation. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
We can see your screen, but yes, and now we can see your presentation.
And now, is it the full screen?
Yes, it's full screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dear organizers and the participants of the conference, good morning. It's an honor for me to represent my university, Moscow State Linguistic University, here today. And today I'm going to tell you about my research, which is entitled The Activity of Word Formation Patterns in Modern Chinese, based on the lexicosemantic field ecology. In fact, the ecological discourse wasn't chosen by chance. From time immemorial, our world has been changing and language has been changing at the same time. Every day, humanity faces new problems and challenges, and then language becomes an important tool for solving these problems, even the most global ones. So since the middle of the 20th century and up to this day, humanity and language together have been facing a problem of truly global scope, environmental disaster. Therefore, nowadays, ecology is one of the most important and actively developing areas of science all over the world. China, as one of the new leaders of the world stage, is also actively involved in the fight against environmental problems. So we can see that it was important for us that our work reflected not only linguistic issues, but also global problems of humanity. And we found it interesting to link two sciences, linguistics and ecology, and to show how language and its vocabulary can become tools for dealing with global problems. However, during my studies at my university and at school, I noticed that textbooks pay little attention to the ecological and environmental issues. There are topics such as let's talk about the weather, where students learn words like snow, rain, and so on and so on. At the best, they will learn the words environmental and ecology. But in fact, even with the basis Shanghai, which is ecology and Chinese, there are more than 100 words. So in addition to just the word ecology, using this basis, we can create a huge number of new words. And this is during the word formation patterns in the Chinese language. So these were the reasons why we decided to focus our attention on the most active processes of word formation patterns of ecoterms in the Chinese in modern Chinese language. And the new vocabulary in this semantic field is a path to further development of science and technology all over the world. So the object of the research is modern Chinese terms, general scientific words, commonly used words and word collocations, and neologisms in the field of ecology. And the subject of our research is morphemic and word formation structures of the word and the most active processes of word formation in the modern Chinese ecology vocabulary. We conducted while conducting the research, we carried out a study of morphemic and word formation structures of 400 lexical units, words and word collocations from ecological discourse. Most of them have a fairly wide scope of use, different sciences like biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, and so on. We analyzed many dictionaries in Russian, English, and Chinese, as well as the United Nations documents and the speech of the Chinese President Xi Jinping at the United Nations summits. So this also proves the relevance of the selected vocabulary. And I think we don't have to dwell much on the theory for a long time. We will note only the main points. The definition of the term word formation itself causes difficulties among linguists to this day. There are still no consensus on whether word formation should be attributed to lexicology or to grammar. And the study of Chinese word formation is included in both programs of lexicology and grammar. In our research, we adhere to the opinion that word formation can be distinguished as an independent section of linguistics, closely related to both lexicology and grammar. And what is the reason for such a dilemma? This is what I want to tell you about today. The ways of word formation. And without looking ahead, I will just know that in this research, we are going to learn in detail only two main ways of word formation, word composition and affixation. And in the first one exactly refers to lexicology, and the second one represents a morphological way of word formation, but morphology is a section of grammar. That's why word formation can be distinguished like a science between lexicology and grammar. And the third conclusion is that we found that modern Chinese has gone a long way in the development of the language from monosyllabism in Wenyang, you can see it at the screen, where one character, one hieroglyph meant one word, to the syllabic and polysyllabic complex words in modern Chinese. They can be they can have 2 syllables, 3 syllables, and even 4 syllables. So as you can see, there are many ways of word formation in Chinese, in modern Chinese, but we will analyze only two main of them, word composition and semi-affixation. So in our research, we made a list of all selected lexical units. As I mentioned before, there were 400 of them. and distributed them into topical groups, which prove our thesis that language can become an important tool for dealing with global environmental problems. As you can see, there are words and word collocations from this lexicosemantic field ecology. And we presented some schematic models that can show the interrelation between components in complex words and word collocations. For example, as I mentioned, words can have not only 2 syllables, but more than 3 syllables. And if we look at this example, we can see that, for example, for 3-syllable word collocations, as for example, non-gongia, which is agro-industry, we can say that the first morpheme, which is non, which means agriculture or farming, it defines and clarifies the 2-syllable derived word that is gongia, that means industry. So it means that it is agro-industry. The word agro defines the word industry. We have also calculated the quantitative ratio of words, only of words, since our research had word collocations too, formed by the method of word composition and words formed by the method of affixation or semi-affixation. As we can notice, word composition prevails over affixation and semi-affixation almost 3 times. This proves again our main conclusion that word composition is the main way of word formation in modern Chinese language. And there are 5 models of word composition in Chinese by Alla Semenas. It's our Russian sinologist. Attributive model, copulative model, verb-objective model, verb-resultant model, and subject-predicative model. And there are examples for each of them, these models. And the first one is the most active model of word composition in Chinese. It's attributive model, and it means that the first component, the first morpheme, defines and explains the second component, the second morpheme. And the first morpheme can be a different part of speech, like noun, adjective, verb, numerals, and so on. But the second morpheme is always a noun. And as you can see, here are 3 examples. The first one is when a noun plus a noun is a noun. For example, the word iceberg, which is bingshan in Chinese. The first morpheme means ice, plus the second morpheme, which is mountain, and it's like an ice mountain, which is iceberg. The second word, the second example is when we say adjective plus a noun, and for example, 空气, which is atmosphere or air. Kong is empty, open, hollow, and T is gas. So open gas, open air is atmosphere. And here are some more examples. For example, Diqiu, which is the earth, the globe, and Di is earth, soil, ground itself, and Qiu is ball or sphere. So literally it means the earth's ball. The earth's ball is our globe. And you can see some more examples. Here are some examples for 3-syllable words. For example, 大气层, it's created by the attributive model too. The second model is very active too. It's copulative model, and relations between the parts of a complex word are free, and one part, one morpheme, doesn't depend on the other, and both parts are in equal semantic relations. And there are many types of this model. And here we can see 3 of them, the most active, when 2 of morphemes are synonyms, when 2 of morphemes are antonyms, and when one morpheme absorbs the meaning of the second morpheme. For example, the word ch'an-ai, which means dust or dirt, the first morpheme ch'an and the second morpheme ai both means dust or dirt. The second word...
Dear Anastasia, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you have already run out of time. Could you please take one last minute to proceed to the conclusion? We have a lot of presentations today. Thank you.
we have the verb objective model, the subject predictive model, and the verb resultant model. The verb resultant model isn't very active because it can create only verbs, but we analyze nouns. And the second conclusion of our research, as I mentioned before, was about semi-affixes. And we provided the list of the most active semi-suffixes and the semi-prefixes and their analogs in English. So as conclusions, we can make some conclusions. We see that this discourse, ecological discourse, tends to be polysyllabic and to lexicalize word collocations. And we see that word composition prevails over fixation almost 3 times. We analyzed 5 active models of word composition and found that the attributive model is the most active. We provided the list of the most active semi-affixes and semi-prefixes. There are 23 of them, and we have developed a list of these most active affixes. So as a conclusion, we can say that language reflects changes in the world, and we can hope that the language may become an effective solution and tool to struggle environmental problems and develop a green and clean world. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Dear conference participants, dear students, if you have any questions, please take your time to ask questions, or you also can post your questions in the chat.
Yes, dear teacher, can I give a comment?
Yes, sure.
Yes.
You're a native speaker, so
yes.
it's logic. Okay.
Yes, I want to say that I'm very like your presentations and your pronunciation is great. Yes, and I want to say that as we know that the Chinese is isolated and analytic language because there is no inflections just like in Russian or in English. So if we want to express the tense or mood, we just to add some auxiliary words or some semi-affixes, yes, to generate new words. Yes, and I'm very interested in your topic, so thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, if you have no other questions, we can proceed to the next speaker. And the next speaker is, well, we have several speakers, and the topic of the presentation is sleep and dream therapy in ancient Egypt. According to our program, this is a presentation number 4. And I'm sure that Pianych Iya is here, and she's going to present, if I'm not mistaken, this topic.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm here.
And yes, please, you can share your screen. And after Iya, we will welcome Shatilova Polina, who is number 10 in our program.
Okay, give me 1 second. I will show you my presentation.
And I remind you that you should respect the time limit, otherwise I will stop you.
1 second. So can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it well.
So good morning, everybody. I'm really glad to talk about sleep and dream therapy in ancient Egypt. Sleep therapy, according to ancient Egypt, had been linked to the death, and the Egypt were the first to describe similarity between dreams and awakenings. Dream interpretation and analytic has been extensively practiced for thousands of years before the modern psychological therapies. In the present work based on the analysis of ancient Egypt sources has been proved that the development of medical science and practice in ancient Egypt has a regressive character, as evidences by the gradual transition from concepts of diagnostic and treatment of diseases to purely medical ideas about origin, diagnostic and treatment of illness. The main definition of the main concept. Dream is a special state of humans and animals' consequences, which includes a number of stages that naturally repeat during the night. Awakening is a return to wakefulness after a period of sleep, sometimes also after other unconscious states. If we talk about main procedure steps, we should include the first one, Holy Night. It's always were in the temple, so the main one about it that candles were lit. The second one, evening prayer service. The prayers, ancient Egypt called the special man who definitely made all therapy. The priest read prayerist. The number 3, incubation sleep. All patients slept in a private building. Number 4, interrogation of the priest. In the morning, the priest asked the people what they saw in their dreams. After these actions, the priest said how the treatment would take place. Sonotherapy and its users. Sonotherapy was extremely popular form of treatment not only among Egypt but also among foreigners. For example, during the last illness of Alexander the Great, his military leaders slept in the main for many nights at the altar of the Greek Egypt, the god Serapis, hoping that he would save their dying monarch. But is sonotherapy practiced right now? From generation to generation, doctors from different countries have studied sonotherapy. It has transformed into various of other medical knowledge. However, these methods of treatment that were popular in ancient Egypt are not used right now. Previously, many methods of treatment were associated with faith in the god. I'm sorry. In conclusion, I would like to say that in present work based on analysis of ancient Egypt's sources has been proved that the development of medical science and practice in ancient Egypt had a regressive character, as evidenced by the gradual transition from initial scientific concepts of origin, diagnostic, and treatment of diseases to purely medical ideas about origin, diagnosis, and treatment of illnesses. Also, it has been testimoniated that religious techniques, and especially the doctrine of immortality of the soul, the static nature of the world and spirits, has been the basic of the formation of medicine representations of ancient Egypt. It has been established that religious ideas which captured all aspects of the life of ancient Egypt society, played the key role in the regression of development of medicine in ancient Egypt. I'm really happy to see you today. Thank you for your attention.
Dear Iya, thank you very much for your presentation, and special thank for respecting the time limit. Dear participants, if you have any questions, please raise your hand, switch on your mics and ask the questions. Or if you have some other questions later, you may post your questions in the chat.
I want just to thank Iya that she immersed us in the world of ancient Egypt. And this is just a very new thing for us because it's not about linguistics, it's not about the literature or culture. So it's something really specific. Thank you for your participation, for your really interesting and beautiful presentation. It was a pleasure to listen to you. Dear students, thank you, Iya. Any questions? All right, if not, we can continue.
Yes, and according to our program, the next presentation is methods of treatment in ancient Egypt, which is the continuation of the previous topic. And the presentation, if I'm not mistaken, will be given by Shatilova Polina. There are several speakers, but as I can see among the participants, there is only Polina here. Polina.
Hello, I will now show you the report.
Please share your screen. Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay.
We can see your presentation.
Methods of treatment in ancient Egyptian. Abstract. The Egyptians understood the disease could be treated with pharmaceuticals, recognized the therapeutic potential of massage and aromatherapy, and attach importance to cleanliness, then treating patients. The purpose of the study is to analyze the way of diagnostics patients in ancient Egypt and implementing various methods of treatment by ancient Egyptians. The pharmaceutical preparations. The pharmaceuticals preparations of the ancient Egyptians medicine priests included antacids, copper salts, tryptophan, alum, estrogens, alkaline, laxative, diuretics, sedatives, antispasmodics, calcium carbonate, and magnesium. The dosages of the medicine were prescribed with special care in the medical papier, specifying the way in which the medicine was to be taken internally. Surgery of ancient Egypt. Surgical procedures were commonplace, and many instruments of the time are still in use today is one form or another. The Egyptians had flint and metal scalpels, pliers, bone saws, probes, catheters, clamps to stop bleeding, tweezers, lancet to open veins, sponges, shears, wheels, linen bandages, and scalpel to calculate medication doses. Over the past few countries, many tools of ancient surgeons have been found, and curiously, this medical equipment is very similar to that used in hospital today. among whose were found metal scalpels, dental forceps, bone saws, coffers, forceps, blood-stopping clamps, metal reflections, scissors, lancets, bandages. Ancient Egyptian surgeons performed the most complex operations on the human brain, after which the patient recovered and continued to live for a long time, as evidenced by studies of some mummies. The preserved wooden patties of body part have also been found, indicating the prophetics was developed in ancient Egypt. Disease treatment. The Egyptians had a good understanding of how to deal the injuries, but things were much more complicated with disease. When one was injured, it was easy to trace cause and effects than to care. Then one was sick, however, the cause was less clear and diagnostic was a big problem. The cause of sickness was usually understood to be a consequence of sin or an attack by demons. Therefore, the first doctors tried to rid the patient of the ailment by reading spells. In addition, amulets, offerings to the gods, tattoos, and statuettes were used to ward off evil spirits or to appease to gods who had caused the disease. This is image of doctor placing a leak on a patient's eyes and is over pictures in ancient Egypt is clay figure of a sacred crocodile was tied firmly to head of cephalic patients whose mouth was filled with medical herbs. The doctor would say a prayer asking for mercy for the patient. Numerous papyri have survived from whose times in which spells have been recorded. Is in some of them we can find practical ways of helping. For example, a papyrus dating back to 1,200 years BC prescribes the use of marijuana the cancer patients. Dentistry in ancient Egypt. Like our doctors, dentists first used magical incantations to banish the tooth worm and then gave the patient medicine. Doctors and dentists often used to herbs and spices for medical purposes. For example, to get rid of bad breath during oral disease, the patient was given honey, chew, cinnamon, or the aromatic resin myrrh. There is evidence that opium was used as an anesthetic when teeth were extracted and when artificial teeth were inserted. In conclusion, it should be noted that the study of the history of ancient Egypt is very important for medical students due to the great discoveries of people over time. And that's all.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was really interesting and captivating. Dear students, dear participants, do you have any questions on the topic in ancient Egypt?
I think I need a crocodile to put on my head next time when I feel not very well. Okay. Thank you for the.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting and very new for us. Something original, right? Unexpected. Well, I don't think we have any questions, so maybe we will move. We will continue.
Yes. Yeah, so let's proceed to the next speaker. Number 16 in our conference program, Anastasia Korchuganova and Lydia Lihaletova. The topic of presentation is the rise and fall of the Spanish language in Morocco. Dear girls, please share your screen and the floor is yours.
Okay, just give us a couple of minutes.
All right, do you see the presentation here? Okay, so we can start. It is known that Morocco is a country in which different local and foreign languages have been used and taught for many decades due to its history. Not only this, but the proximity of this country to other African states as well as Europe, for example, is the main reason why foreign languages are used there either as lingua franca or for international communication.
On the other hand, there is no rational approach to teaching and learning foreign languages in Morocco. The language situation in the country is more complicated than it seems to be. The Moroccan government has structured only the number of years and hours of local and foreign language teaching and learning. Evidently, there is no clear determination of goals of such studying and, moreover, no balance between local languages and lingua franca. It is possible to say that the situation is completely confusing, and as a result, different languages compete rather than complete one another. And linguists say that study languages in Morocco usually refer to the term of language conflict to describe the issue.
Well, this language conflict is also connected to the usage of the Spanish language in Morocco due to the historic development of the region. Local autochthonous languages, for instance Arabic, mutually influence European languages and compete with them. Many linguists emphasize that from the historical point of view, the language situation in Morocco has always been flexible, but the lack of accurate statistics represents the main obstacle to calculate the percentage of the speakers. Nevertheless, the usage of the Spanish language in Morocco is limited to small areas, while French is considered to be the language of the progressive part of the Moroccans. Spanish is increasingly rarely considered to be a language of prestige, and job opportunities giving way to English and French.
There are discussions between linguists regarding the real condition of Spanish in the country. Some of them claim that it cannot be described as a language on the verge of extinction. It applies in schools and universities. It also can be noticed in literature and press. A lot of Moroccans prefer speaking Spanish in their everyday life. It is also essential that Spanish in Morocco is not a variant of the language. It is more correct to define it as a dialect, since it does not have a proper literary norm, the necessary number of speakers, and is restricted by certain spheres of communication, in contrast with the Spanish language in Equatorial Guinea, for example.
So the Spanish language in Morocco is likely to gradually enter a crisis. The Spanish language becomes restricted to domestic and family uses. It is not of great concern that the future of Spanish in Moroccan schools is uncertain. For instance, many Moroccans accommodated in the north decide to enroll their children in French schools. Another example is that publication of books in Spanish is still limited and based on personal initiatives. However, the evolution of the Spanish language has a long history, and there is a hope that it is far from ending. It is true that this unsupportive situation has recently begun changing, and a lot of Moroccan publishers, broadcasters, writers, teachers, and non-indifferent people are interested in created content in Spanish. So thank you a lot for your attention.
Okay, dear girls, thank you for your interesting presentation and for your short report, okay, for your respect to the other participants. Dear students, any questions about Morocco and the languages that are used? Because this situation is rather critical, I would say, and they should do something to save the local languages, right? To somehow to change the situation. So maybe the officials or some politicians will influence the situation, because I think they should do something on the official level, state level. Any questions, dear students, dear participants? Okay, so we spoke about the Northern African countries right now, the Arabic-speaking world. Thank you, Anastasia and Lydia. And now we will move to the next country, also Arabic-speaking. And we invite our next speaker, Muntasir. Muntasir, do you hear us? Are you with us?
Hello, dear professor.
Okay. Dear girls, thank you for your presentation. Please stop sharing the screen. So we will move we will continue with the next speaker. Thank you.
Good day, dear professor, dear students and participants. According to semantic panel, I am going to talk about the traditional etiquette and culture and history of Iraq. History, Iraq covers most of the area of ancient Mesopotamia, which entered the land between the river Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Mesopotamia, also called as fertile Crescent, was an important center of early cities. The first human civilization, called Sumer, has developed in Iraq through 4000 BC, unlike the Egyptian, of course, hanging the cover of Babylon, Gardens of Babylon. Overview for cuneiform written in Iraq that time, meaning which is the term applied to the mode of writing, which used a wedge-shaped tiles to make impressions on a clay surface and also on the stone, metal, and books. Most of the clay tables were sun-baked, making surviving tables very fragile. These techniques originated in the ancient southern Mesopotamia, south of Iraq, and the earliest text in cuneiform script was about 5,000 years old. Cuneiform writings, that's some samples of it, for and cooperation between this time and the ancient for many ports in many civilizations. The sun, God, even mountain, man, ox, and fish looks like Laotian, Graphic, and Babylon, Assyrian, and so on. The customs and traditions of Iraq, their main language is Arabic. Iraq consider family and honor to be paramount importance. Families are their member responsible for their conduct, since any wandering brings shame to the entire family. Loyalty to the family comes before the social relationship, even meeting in our country, for according to the Islamic tradition, Assalamu alaikum and alaikum assalam. Many behavior and communication prevent to make in our Rashid tradition, don't mention family members of men's family in general conversation. Don't enter a massive Muslim place of worship without removing your shoes or covering them with a plastic bag. And don't be very concerned which hand you use in greeting, signaling, or eating. The offense taken by using the left hand is highly exaggerated. And culture of Iraq, or talk about hanging gardens of Babylon. Iraq hanging gardens of Babylon is an ancient wonder. The ancient wonder site, the hanging gardens in Babylon, also known as the hanging gardens of Sumerians at the south of Iraq in Hilla province. Hanging gardens Mesopotamia, hanging gardens Iraq, and the walls of Babylon, present-day Iraq, are considered to be one of the original seven wonders of the ancient world. The hanging gardens Babylon of Iraq. In summary, Iraqis tended to give great deal of detail about their job and family when they're first meeting someone, and will often stress the achievements of their family. This is not a justification or divulgation so much as a validation of their family's honor or value in Arab culture. Thank you for your time and attention. Hope you learned something about Iraq.
Okay, thank you. And the last slide is really interesting. How you wrote, thank you. That's interesting, right? This is the first time when I see such writing, just to show that you want to be really loud when you thank us. Okay, and I have a question, Montasser. What to do if I'm a left-hander? But I will really suffer in Iraq because I use my left hand all the time. I write with it and I eat with it and I wave and do everything. What should I do if I'm a left-hander? And are there
Yes,
any left-handers in Iraq? What do they do?
especially in festivals and conference and so on like this. It's so exaggeration to use the left hand. It's the shameful sometimes.
Okay, so I should change my all of my habits and to avoid using my left hand. Am I right?
Right.
Okay, so I don't think I should go to Iraq in this case. I won't manage. Dear students, any questions to Muntasser? It was interesting, and why not to travel? Why not to go to this friendly country if you know the rules, right? So it will be interesting just to know something new. Any questions? Any comments? All right. Thank you, Muntasser. Thank you for your
Is there a
presentation.
professor?
It was really interesting. And let's invite our next speaker, Okil Izzeldin, with his report, Media Discourse in Arab Countries. So we are again in the Middle East. Are you with us, Izzeldin?
Yes, hello everyone.
Hello.
Excuse me, I will participate without a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, in this case, could you please turn on the camera so at least we will see your nice face?
I can't turn on the camera.
Okay, so let's just listen to our colleague, to Iseldin, and enjoy while listening. Okay, please.
Thank you. The title of my article is Media Discourse in Arab Countries. Media discourse is an important component in the life of society as one of the leading propagandists of thought and culture. It also actively contributes to the process of forming the public's opinion. The media play a fundamental role in bringing the public's attention to current issues, as the media is the main source that the public turn to for information on all political, cultural, and social aspects. In this article, we will consider the problems of Arabic media discourse and the relationship between the media and their audience, based on language as an effective means of influencing the addressee. In recent years, mass communication has evolved and expanding due to scientific progress and the technological revolution of the 20th century. This is due to its effective implementation in society, wide distribution and accessibility to all segments of society. In the modern world, there is a convergence of the globalization of media discourse of different countries. However, there is a specific cultural and social difference between the Arab media discourse and media discourse of other countries. Arabic media discourse is still mostly local and has failed to reach the level of global media discourse for several reasons, the most important of which are media discourse in Arab countries reflect the unstable political situation in the Middle East, especially since the beginning of the 2011 Arab Spring. It's limited only to consideration of the local political situation in accordance with the wishes of the governments of Arab countries. Media in Arab countries are the subordinate to governments and do not express people's opinion. Therefore, Arab media are characterized by a lack of credibility and objectivity in the transmission of information and the inability to discuss many issues and problems for political or religious reasons. The Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya channels are the most influential among Arabs and the most visible among other Arab news channels due to their ability to raise certain issues that affect many Arab countries with boldness and authority, unlike other channels are regulated by local political orientation of their country. According to the Washington Post, Al Jazeera is the most watched channel in the Middle East. Al Jazeera, a show like this would be unusual in the Arab world where the media is controlled. Second reason, media censorship in Arab countries. Media institutions in Arab countries are not independent, but influenced by the political environment in which they operate. Arab media discourse has limited impact on its address in political life due to many restrictions, including a capital owners influencing the content of public and private media. Third reason, restrict media establishments by Arab governments by granting a license to establish newspaper and broadcast radio and television so that governments can control the content of the media and prevent the dissemination of information that reveals true political reality. According to Noam Chomsky, the task of intellectuals is to reveal the reality of events taking place in their countries, make it obvious and always tell the truth. The duty of intellectuals is to tell the truth and expose deceit. Third reason, normativity of Arabic media discourse. All Arab countries are united by one media discourse implemented through Al-Fusha, its classical Arabic language. Al-Fusha is used in the media and educational, scientific, cultural, and literary institutions. So it's difficult for Arab citizens from simple and uneducated categories of people to understand the events addressed to them through various media in classical Arabic language because Al-Fusha is characterized by rhetoric and wide vocabulary. It should be noted the importance of the availability to communication technology tools necessary for the dissemination of media discourse. According to the German international broadcaster Deutsche Welle, the Arab world is still teach poor. Until now, no Arab country has been able to transfer high technology to the media and create an industry based on innovation. Based on the foregoing, the Arab media discourse needs to be developed and modernized by using the means of modern communication technologies to serve the goals and needs of Arab societies and form an influential public opinion. Thank you for your attention. It's all.
Okay. Thank you, Iseldin. Thank you for your report. Any questions? Dear students, any questions about mass media in Arab countries? No questions? So let's continue.
Actually,
then.
I have a question. Sorry, may
okay.
I ask?
Yeah, sure, sure.
I know that there are some kind of prohibited topics which are not really allowed in Arabic countries. For example, when it is something about European democracy or about different more open style of life, something like that. So how does the media in Arab countries describe these topics? Do they just omit them or do it but very accurately, very, according to the special vision of the countries?
I think, yes, I think that it's because we have a lot of political and religious reasons. We are problems since 2011 Arab Spring. We have these problems for political and religious reasons.
So do you cover such kind of topics or not at all?
We can't cover everything what's happened in reality. That's why the institutions, the Arabic institutions of mass media are controlled by governments.
I see. Thank you for the honest answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Maria Vasilievna. Thank you for your participation, for your questions, and for your interest. It is really, really nice when our participants take part in the conference and ask the questions and just attentively listen to the speakers. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you again. So it's time to continue, right? Yulia Matvievna. Our next speaker is Zini, right?
Yes.
Zini, are you with us? Do you hear us? Yes,
Yes,
I see you.
I'm here.
Okay, please share the presentation. Don't forget about the timing.
Yes. Good morning, Professor and colleagues. Today my topic is the functioning of Russian language in the temperature of modern China. Today I will introduce from following parts: introduction, the goal of the paper, material and methodology, and main research. The first is the research problem. Whether a country's language can be popular in the world depends to a large extent on its economic strength. Russia is the only country in the world that is almost completely self-sufficient in natural resource, which is a solid basis for its economic development. With the continuous depending of exchange between China and Russia in the fields of politics, economic, technology, humanities, and so on. China demand for Russian-speaking talents will gradually expand, and the society provides a broad market for the cultivation of Russian-speaking talents, and there are good opportunity for development and value addiction. But so far, there are few articles on the role of Russia in the modern China. And next is the theoretical background. Language is a tool for information exchange between people, and the structure of language is the result of continuous self-adjustment to meet the specific needs of information exchange. This paper uses the theory of functional equivalence to explain the development of Russia in modern China, from the difference in the way Chinese people perceived Russia and the historical evolution of Russia in China. Next part is the goal of the paper. In recent years, trade between China and Russia has become increasingly close, growing at a rate of more than 25% per year. Some of enterprises that start scientific and technology cooperation with Russia in the early days are expanding their cooperation with Russia. They have driven more companies to Russia, thus triggering a new round of demand for Russia-speaking talents. However, there are very few articles that study the function and role of Russian in modern China. So this study is indicated to studying the function of Russia in modern China. Next is material and methodology. This study uses service method to study which Chinese university teach Russia and how many Chinese are learning Russia. Chinese students at Rudin University of Russia and Chinese students in China conduct survey to find out why they decide to learn Russia, where and how to use it, and find the Russia-speaking diaspora in China and their location. How many Russia-speaking media TV companies market in China, and the residents of the Russia-speaking population, and analyze in which areas the Russian language play a role. The teaching and dissemination of the Russian language is also evolving with the times. Innovating and strengthening. This map shows that the Chinese people who learn Russia are still predominantly Northerners. Then next is the main result. According to results of the survey, nearly 60 colleges and universities in China has open Russian language courses, and the number of students in the school is about 600 to 800. Beijing, Shanghai, and Heilongjiang province have set up national Russian language centers. China's demand for Russian language talents will gradually expand. The authority provides a broad market for the training of Russian language talents and good opportunity. The last part is contribution to the field. Listening Russia is a matter of cross-cultural communication, which is conclusive to the deepening and development of Russia-Chinese cooperation. This study found that Russian as a language not only gave more college students the opportunity to understand Russia, enjoy it, and gain a deep understanding of Russia's national condition and culture, but also helped to strengthen cooperation between Russia and China from a health and sustainable development, and also allows more Russians to get to know and understand China, so that the two people can further communicate. That's all my speech. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Zini. Thank you. Dear students, dear participants, any questions to our colleague? Any questions about the Russian language in China? Thanks to the map, we could see that actually it is popular on the north, right? So maybe you have any questions, especially those students who study Chinese. Maybe it might be interesting for them too. Or for our students who are going to be Russian language teachers. So this is our target audience, actually, right? So any questions, any comments? All right, our participants are rather shy today. They don't want to ask any questions. All right, then, if we have no questions, maybe we will continue with our next speaker, Yulia Matveevna. We have a group of speakers, right?
Yes, we have a group of speakers, but as far as I can see, there is only one person present. That is Samuelova Yana Olegovna, and the topic of her presentation is Ibn Sina's legacy in the medicine. Yana, welcome.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
You could share your screen.
1 second, please. Can Jana Samblyan turn it?
Do you face any problems?
Yes.
So
Just
what's the problem?
please.
Can we help you?
I can't.
You can't share the screen?
Yes. The girl named Jana must turn it.
Okay, so you are together, right? So
Yes,
you want
yes.
to, okay, you want to participate and speak together, and she assists you, as I guess, right?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, Jana, are you with us? Jana, where are you? We don't see you. We don't hear you. We hope you will help your colleague. Yana, if you want, you can share the presentation in the chat, and we will be able to demonstrate it for you.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Just a second.
Okay.
While we are waiting for Yana's presentation, I should say that as far as I can see, her presentation is the last according to the present of the participants. Maybe we have some participants who have not yet presented the presentation. Do we have some? If yes, please write it in the chat.
Yulia Matveevna, could you assist our colleague? Could you assist Yana with the presentation? Yes? And while
Yes,
you are
do.
helping, okay, maybe I will read some names of the speakers who didn't present yet. Okay, so let's pass the word to our speaker.
Okay. Yana, the floor is yours. Please tell
Thank you
me
so
when
much.
I should go to the next slide.
Okay, thank you. I will say about Ibn Sina, the father of medicine. Ibn Sina, Abu Ali, and Al Hussein Ibn Sina, a famous Arab and the philosopher and physician, was born in 1980 in Afsham. Next slide, please. The next. And next. Thank you. When I was 10 years old, he himself said, I had already finished my studying the Quran. The Quran is the holy book of Muslims, and many rules since so that I surprised. Next slide, please. At the age of 14, Avicenna became interested in medicine, read every medical treatise that he could find in Bukhara, visited the sick, the most difficult ones. It is believed that he was drawn to the practice of medicine by Abu Salh Masihi, a famous physician of the time. Salh Masihi, the author of the book Emiya, or the book of 100 chapters, which for many doctors was then the textbooks. The textbook of medicine. Masihi is a follower of the illustrious physicians of antiquity, Hippocrates and Galen. He had a great influence of shaping Avicenna's view. Next slide, please. Proceeding of Medicine. The Canon of Medicine is a work of encyclopedic nature in which the precepts of ancient medical science, the Kitab el-Canon fi tip reworked and in keeping with the achievement of Arab medicine. Next slide, please. Drug medicine writing during the first time of the visit Hamadan. The work is a detailed account of the role of the heart in the emergence and the manifestation of pneuma, peculiarities, and diagnostics and treatment diseases of the heart. Next slide, please. Abu Ali Hussein ibn Sina died on June 24, 137. He was buried in Hamaran in the vicinity of the city wall, but after 8 months, Abu Ali Hussein ibn Sina died on the June 24, 137. He was born. He was born to Hamaran in the vicinity of the city wall, but I'm sorry, Avicenna's tomb in Hamadan, Iran. Next slide, please. They tell legends and sing songs about him. He became a hero of fairy tales. Avicenna died on the road, a half-knowledgeable man, a man he knew wrote his will. Avicenna told him to give all his possessions, to give the poor, to let his servants to go free. After 900 years, people cherished his grave. Every morning, scholarly elders and young men would gather at his mausoleum. He launched elders and young men, the sick who believed in miracles, the sick who believed in miracles cure from the mere touch of the ancient tomb and to ancient tomb of great Helen. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your report. Surprisingly, it has finished. Okay, any questions, any comments? I think everyone has heard about this actually really famous Arab and a philosopher and writer, actually. So maybe you have any questions. I
Professor,
think.
can I say something?
Yes, sure, Aida, please.
I know Abu Ali Sina because, as you said, he's very famous. But about the nationality of him, he's Iranian. He's Iranian. He's not Arabic, I think.
Okay, so I was wrong, but Ibn Sina, the name is really Arabic, but
about the city that had born, I think one of the city that it was belong to Iran, and the nationality I read in the internet it's Iranian.
okay, Yana, maybe you can argue or give a comment.
I thought he's Arab. The Wikipedia said that.
Okay,
Because
maybe there are
in
two
our
Ibn
books,
Sinas.
in a school,
Maybe
in
there
our
are
books,
two people
we
with the
study
same
many things
names.
about it.
Maybe we have different information about him.
Okay, so this is surprising, and this is the question for discussion. Maybe next time in the future we will figure out who is he, what is his nationality, and where is he from, and that would be really interesting and nice. Any other questions or comments? Ida, thank you for your comment. It's interesting. Yeah, okay, so you pretend that he is Iranian and he's really, really famous. Thank you, Ida. Any
And one
other
more thing,
questions?
in one paragraph, Yana, you write Isfahan, but this is our city. This is Isfahan. Just this. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry for mistakes.
Okay, so it depends actually, because sometimes people can be born anywhere, right? So if I was born in China, doesn't mean that I'm Chinese, right? And vice versa. So it depends. It depends. So maybe we should read more. And thank you, Aida, for this clue. Yeah, thank you. So maybe we will read more about it, but at least we've heard interesting reports today. We've seen very nice and beautiful presentations. Yana, thanks again. And the topics were so different and interesting. I would like to thank all speakers, all participants who were involved in our discussion, who joined our conference and tried to listen attentively and ask the questions. And maybe you will find something interesting for your future study, and you will think about it and pose your own research questions. And next year we will have this conference again. So welcome to our Eastern kaleidoscope. Maybe you will be a participant next time. Yulia Matveyevna, do you have anything to say?
Well, I just would like to thank all of the participants for their interesting, thought-provoking, and colorful presentations. And let me just make the last check, because we still have some speakers who didn't present their presentations. Maybe they joined us just last moment. Alieva Malika Ainadinovna. I'm sorry. I cannot
We
see.
have no, we have only Zaida with the same last name, but this is not Malika.
Basil Khan, unfortunately, I don't have information about the name. Basil Khan, no. Андросова Снежана Евгеньевна and Shangareeva Naila Salavatovna. This is number 6. No. Number 7. Iskakova Ainur. No. Number 9. Mukhtar Tagjan. No. And
We have the hand
Alieva, yes.
raised. Zaida, please.
Здравствуйте, я очень рада быть на этой конференции, но извините меня, пожалуйста, можно мне выступить через одного человека, так как я в пути сейчас, вот я подъезжаю скоро и буду в здании, будет очень шумно, меня слышно.
Zaida, you are not in the list of the speakers. We have another participant. Or this is your topic, the role of movies in the teaching of foreign languages. Is it yours? Zaida? Zaida, is this topic yours? The role of movies in the teaching of foreign languages. Is this topic yours? It was in the no. Okay, so perhaps this is maybe you are the speaker in another section that is in Russian, and ours is in English, and it is oriented towards the students who use the language in their studying or study the English language. So we do not ask you to give this presentation, to present your materials, but thank you for your readiness. That's great, thank you. Okay, let's continue. Yulia Matveevna.
Yes, and just the last presentation, the last speaker, Lakeo Soliana Yumayolu, and I see that she is not here.
Yes.
Well, well, that's it. Well, once again, thank you for joining us, for being with us, and please don't forget to register for the conference. Even if you did not present anything today, even if you were just a listener, please fill in the registration form. And in the question, there is a last question about the name of your scientific advisor. As far as you are not the speakers, please indicate in this question, I'm a listener. This is very important for us because we need to make a report statistics about the conference. And also, I'm welcoming you to join our Telegram channel. This is a Telegram channel of our Institute of Intercultural Communication and Migration, and there we share a lot of interesting events which take place in our university and in this institute in Russian, in English, and in other languages as well.
Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your interest, and welcome to our conference next year and to all other conferences and scientific seminars. We are always ready and happy to see you. Thank you once again and have a nice day. Thank you, dear. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
That's it. Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Professor. Thank you. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Спасибо, Оксана Ивановна. А вас не слышно, но я по губам читаю.
Спасибо большое вам, Юлия Матвеевна, за прекрасное ведение, за хорошую организацию. Мы можем выключить запись, я останавливаю.